I'm Liz Smith. Welcome to Makers in Business, the show that explores the intersection of commerce and creativity. Today my guest is Akshata Nayak of the Orange Owl, who is a soap maker. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You make more than soap, but I just had to get that in there because sometimes I get into the show and I realize I haven't told anybody what my guest makes. You make, tell me in your own words what you make.
I make all natural skincare products. So I do soaps, scrubs, lip balms, bath salts, body butters. I mean, there's something for everybody in the line.
Yes, there is. I'm a very happy customer of yours.
Thank you.
So I first met you. You were vending at a show, and I had vended at that show in the past, and I hadn't done that well at it, and so I wasn't going to vend again, but I wanted to go and look at all the vendors and buy things and be a customer, because when you're a vendor all the time, being a customer is really fun. So I went to the show, and I thought there was a lot of really good vendors there, but you stood out.
Oh, thank you.
And I ended up taking pictures of your booth and your product and pestering you and talking to you, and you're probably like, who is this crazy lady?
No, I was very happy to see someone who wanted to know what I was doing there.
Yeah, exactly. And I did. I wanted to know what you were doing there because I'd never seen your product before, but it looked like it was aimed right at me. I felt like I was your perfect customer, and I was trying to figure out why I hadn't seen you before, like in the craft show circuit. Was that one of your first shows?
Yeah, it was the first show I ever did. I think that's about early summer or something.
It was in April.
The year. Yeah, April. And I'd started making stuff just in about December of last year. The year before that is when the business had started officially. I was making stuff for about a year and a half before that. But yeah, that was my first show ever. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, so it was the first time I set up, the display and trying to come up with ideas and everything. So meeting you was very, very encouraging because you actually appreciated everything that was there.
Well, you did it right. I mean, before I know that your soaps and your products are any good, I'm attracted to your packaging. I mean, that probably happens with everybody.
Yes, people love my owl.
Yeah, the Orange Owl, right.
Yes.
And that's very much in the zeitgeist right now. It's, Etsy loves owls, and so you'll see a lot of owls everywhere. It's a very popular emblem, and your color scheme is beautiful, but your packaging was very thoughtful. And like I say, before I know anything about your product, I see your packaging, I'm attracted, and that makes me think, well, we have the same aesthetic. I will probably enjoy her product.
Yeah.
So that's key. And I want to talk more about packaging, but first I'd like to get a little bit of your background, because when you told me, well, I remember one of the first things I said to you was, so do you make this at home? And you said yes, and I said, your house must look like a chemistry shop, and you laughed at me. Not at me. You chuckled because your background is in?
Yeah, biochemistry. I have a master's in biochemistry, I have a master's in nutrition, and it's the most unexpected thing to do with the 2 degrees, but somehow for me it all came together in my head and in reality. I first, when I got my master's in biochemistry, I was very interested in the, studying the immune system and things like that. And the research I did was toxicology and immune system, and so just basically what regular exposure to chemicals can do to you. And that got me looking at products I used every day, whatever cleaner it was at home or skincare products, and I'd see ingredients that I was using in the lab and wearing safety gear while using it.
Oh, you're
and I'd find that in my products, and I was like, why is this here?
Wow.
But I didn't really know what to do about it at that time. And so, a few years went by of me just sort of fretting and looking around for products I could use. And during my master's in nutrition, I had a class in herbology, and we were expected to make something out of herbs. And so I made my first ever soap.
That's great.
I made a ginger-infused soap, and it started with that. I made it for everybody for Christmas that year. Everybody loved it. Then they wanted refills. And so slowly and steadily it snowballed into the Orange Owl and what it is right now.
That's incredible. I can't believe it literally started in a chemistry lab.
It did, yeah. The idea came to me then, but it came together much later.
Of course, everything takes time.
Yeah.
And so when you decided, when you saw yourself making this product and people asking for refills, and then something must have clicked. You thought, well, I could do this.
Yeah, it definitely took quite a push because I had never in my life imagined that I would be running a business, let alone, you know, sort of two that I run right now with my wellness center as well. So I'd never imagined I would do something like this. And my father always pushed me in the direction of business because he's a businessman in India. So he always had this idea of, you know, having a daughter who would run a business or his business as well after him, or, you know, take over. And that never happened. So he's very excited now that I'm doing this.
That's fantastic. Oh, I love hearing that. So maybe it was in your blood and you just had to come around it from the sideways.
Yeah, it took me a long, giant road, but you know, I finally got there and I'm doing that now.
That's amazing. So because your packaging really caught my eye, I'd like to know the origins of creating the logo and the color scheme and how much, I mean, obviously a lot of thought went into that. How did you approach that?
I have the world's best friends and family because they helped me a lot with it.
Do you have professional graphic designers in your friends and family?
Yes, yeah, so that was extremely helpful. And you know, my very close family and friends all do bits and pieces of marketing, and you know, I have people in advertising, people in marketing, graphic designing, people who are studying it, are already working. So you know, I was very, very lucky to have that type of a support.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of people though that say they're in graphic design and then you look at their websites. And it's a little horrifying, and you're like, oh, that's great, I'm okay, I don't need your help, thanks. But these people are really good.
Yes, they are. And so it was my friend who actually even helped me come up with the name, and then you know, I just told her I would like to do this. And I came from India. She's in India. So I came back from India, and in a few weeks, she sent me the owl.
The logo.
The logo. And we made, I think, one change to it. But she had it down pat. She knew exactly. I mean, she's known me for 20-something odd years, so she knew exactly what I wanted. I didn't.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
Well, it's beautiful. And I know it evolved over time.
Yes.
Yeah. And
yeah. So I did get the logo done first, and then, you know, my family's helped me with my packaging. My sister-in-law does that for me. So
super. I love that it's a family business.
It is, yeah.
Spearheaded by you and your chemistry. So how did you decide which products you wanted to carry in your line? I know you started out with soap, but how did you think to add lip balms and bath salts? And was it just something that everyone does? Were you following a path, or were you thinking, were we getting requests?
Well, it was more of, once I started the business, I also started, like I said, my wellness center. And so I'd have clients coming in asking for certain things or looking for certain things. And then I'd look at my lab and I had the ingredients. I was like, why don't I try this? And so it had a lot to do with requests. It had a lot to do with what people were looking for.
Right.
And also what I wanted to do. So it, all came together really well for me, that I wanted to do it. People were asking for it. So I was like, why not?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, Tell me about your wellness center.
So I'm a nutritionist. My husband's a nutritionist and a chiropractor. So we have a wellness center in Vermont. It's called Alternative Roots Wellness Center. So we have a very holistic way of looking at things. And one of the main philosophies behind it is that you are what you put in and on your body. And so that sort of takes care of our wellness center and the Orange Owl. What you use makes a huge difference to your health. Even if it's a little bit that you use every day, it accumulates over time.
So people come to the center to learn, to take classes?
Yeah, we do classes in local health food stores. We host talks about all different types of health topics, whatever it is that people want to learn about.
Oh, that's super.
Between the two of us, we have some 6 or 7 degrees between my husband and I. So it's time we sort of started making space in our head for other information. So we try to give it out as much as we can.
That's hilarious. Well, I bet that's really appreciated, especially in a state like Vermont, where I think that that's perfectly suited.
Yes, yeah, it's a very health conscious state, and that's one of the reasons we decided to move there. Was just there were many people looking for things like that. And so, yeah, it is very well appreciated. We have our group of regulars that come for our classes, and, you don't have to be clients to ask us questions. We're not, I think in many ways our business model goes against us sometimes, because we're more than happy to, share the information, because there's so much misinformation out there about everything, especially health. You can Google about toe ache and end up learning that you probably have brain cancer, so there's so much bad information out there. Sometimes you just need somebody to weed through it for you, and so that's what we try to do.
So people trust you, and they've asked you these questions, you answer them freely, and then they'll probably come back and take pay for the information in the future because they already have that trust.
Yeah, when they need us, we're there. So that's what we want to let them know.
That's very clever. And so do you have a gallery or like a shop set up in your wellness center where your work is displayed?
Yes, yeah, we do have my stuff at the wellness center that we started more recently because I was getting a lot of wholesale orders. So I was trying to finish up with all of those, and then I finally got some time to bring it into my own.
To make stock. No, I know. I have this problem too. I make everything, so that's beautiful. I said, I don't get to keep any of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get to put it in my gallery in my studio. It's all headed for stores. Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened. So now it is in my wellness center. Yeah.
So when you did that first show, did you decide this is for me, or were you thinking this is
the
really
business?
Yeah, no, the first craft show.
Oh,
that you
the
did.
show itself.
Yeah. Did you want to do more shows after that?
Yeah, I did. I did quite a few shows last year, and I've done a few this year. I'm still trying to find my way through, what shows work, what shows don't.
So you did
why certain work, why certain don't.
Yeah.
So I did a mix of things. The smaller ones, like where I met you here in Massachusetts, and I've done really big shows. So trying to see which one works the best. So I've been doing a bit of everything right now.
Yeah, and do you like doing shows? It's a different environment.
I love doing shows. The reason I like doing shows, it's not as much as selling the product. I love meeting people. I love talking to people, and now I've reached a point where I've done enough shows in Vermont that I have customers that are regulars.
Oh, repeat customers.
Yeah, so they come to the show looking for me, and
super.
That feels amazing.
Yeah. Do you feel like you always have to have something new for them, or
no? They have.
You have a wide enough range.
Yeah, I have a wide enough range that they've tried a body butter, now they want to think about a lip balm, or vice versa. Whatever works for them. I try to launch new products, once a year or maybe once in 6 months or something. Just because when I launch a product, it's not just one; it's a whole line.
Right.
It's a range. So I have different scents. I have all these other things to keep track of. Then the packaging for it, and the making of it, the logistics of the entire thing.
Yeah.
So I try not to launch too many all at once. I do it. I make sure it gets established. Then I think about launching another one.
And did you say how often you do that? I missed.
About a year, once a year, once in 6 months. I mean, after I launched the entire product line, I did bath salts last year, and this year I've done body scrubs.
Oh, okay. Fascinating. I'd love to talk more about this with you after a break. You're watching Makers in Business. I'm Liz Smith. Stay tuned for more with Akshata Nayak of the Orange Owl. Welcome back to Makers in Business. Today I'm speaking with Akshata Nayak of the Orange Owl. Before the break, we were talking about how you launch a new product once a year, and I wondered if it was seasonal.
I don't really do anything that's seasonal. A lot of soap makers, a lot of skincare product people do things like for the fall, for
that's what I've noticed.
Winter scents or fall scents and things like that. I tend not to do that just because I'm trying to establish a line. And when I do something, just the logistics involved in the packaging, the detail that goes into all of that, it gets very difficult for me to try and come up with a packaging that I would use only for a month and then not. All the work that goes into it, I prefer doing something that gets established and then carried forward.
That's clever, and I like that I can always count on finding the same products in your shop. Because I buy them year round. That's great. I know that you were approached by a major corporation, or is it MTV?
Yeah, it was. So during the award show or the award season in LA, they have these different gifting lounges, and
so this is where a celebrity can walk through and pick up a goodie bag or choose from items to put in a goodie bag. Just swag.
Yeah, just basically swag. Exactly. It's basically swag. The difference was, I know that a lot of people, and I also got a lot of requests previously to do this, but it was just sending my product out there.
Right, and that's when you told me that you got approached for this. I mean, I've had the same thing where, give us 600 of something, and we'll put it in our bags, and maybe
something will happen.
And I can see where that's very tempting from a marketing standpoint. But then you told me they didn't just want a product.
Yeah, they wanted me to go there. And so I got a full table to set up and meet all these people.
You flew to LA.
I flew to LA.
But you didn't just like go out there with what you already had. You designed an entire new
package. The branding changed completely.
Yeah. When I saw the package that you came up with, and I hope we can get a picture of that to show folks, it was a little box with the owl. It was freestanding, and it had products in it, and then you could close it. It was a piece of art unto itself, and I don't know how you scrambled and got that done and then made all the products.
Yeah, well, I had a lot of help for the packaging. I was approached by one of the, it's called Dentsu Advertising. It's one of the largest advertising agencies in the world, and they were looking for smaller businesses to work with. And so I somehow stumbled upon that.
That's amazing.
And so they helped me out. So the packaging was completely, that owl box that I gave away at that event was completely their idea after talking to me and, understanding what I was looking for.
What a stroke of luck. Because
it was fantastic.
It was fantastic. And did it get a good response?
It got a phenomenal response. People, I mean, I haven't heard people squeal that much. I mean, adults squealing that much. So
celebrity adults.
Yes, it was definitely, it was phenomenal being there and just watching people have that reaction to something that I had, that had my brand name on it.
It was you. And you stood behind the desk, and did you meet famous people?
Well, some of them. Unfortunately, I'm not very with it when it comes to maybe all the famous people here, but I got to meet a lot of interesting people, and some of them were very genuinely interested in my story, why I was there, how I got started.
Oh, how neat.
Yeah, so that was very, very exciting for me, and there was a lot of press there, and so we actually got a mention in like OK Magazine and Star Magazine, and so that was very exciting.
So how much product did you bring to that show?
I was told to bring 100 of those gift bags and about maybe 100 or 200 smaller products so people could pick it up. I took 100 and I think close to 150 of those bags, and I took 1,000 lip balms. I was almost completely out of stuff within 2 hours, and the show like lasted for 6 or 7. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was a bit scary. I had to start hiding things because I didn't think everyone would get a chance to come to the table and see what I had.
Yeah, holy moly. First of all, you made 1,000 lip balms.
Yeah.
That's it starts. Yeah. And then you brought them, and then they were gone.
Yeah, and in less than 2 hours, my table was almost, I had them stacked up behind me, and the stack was down to like 1 row on each side. And so then I had some assistants there, so we started hiding the bags because they'd given us a list of people who'd come through, and I knew that more than half were still not there yet.
Oh my goodness.
So
did it work?
Yeah, I did, to a certain extent, but it was just really well received, and so I thought I was very excited about that.
Oh sure, oh sure. It's not, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So when you got into the magazine, and you got your stuff in front of all these celebrities, have you seen anything in your business to show that was beneficial?
Business-wise, true sale numbers, I have not really, but I have met more people in the press who are now interested in writing more about the owl. They're more interested in finding out how things started, basically like what you're doing here. They want to find out the story.
Yeah, well, the story is fascinating.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what press is great for, more press.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've had press, and then it didn't turn into sales, but it definitely turned into more press, and you never know where that can lead.
That takes you.
And I think a lot of makers think that they're going to get press, and then they're going to see sales, and they get disappointed. Yeah. But I think they're missing the point.
Yeah.
And I think they should take courage and be encouraged.
Definitely.
That press leads to press. Once you've been given bona fides.
The fact that you probably have even 2 more new people who've heard about your brand, you never know where those 2 people are going to go from there.
Right, and which 2 people? And if it's a magazine's always looking for a story.
Yeah, exactly. And so I had all these huge PR companies in LA wanting to represent, the Orange Owl, which really, it completely swept me off my feet, until I heard prices.
I was going to say, I don't think a company as small as one person can afford that kind of representation right away.
No, I definitely realized I couldn't. I was very tempted to try and do something with it, but then came the whole idea of, I realized that what I wanted the Orange Owl to be was to grow steadily. And it shouldn't be something, you get a spike. I was being promised to go on daytime talk shows and things like that, which can be really great. But
what if you can't keep up with demand?
Exactly. Demand, as well as, it could be a spike in sales. And, people's attention spans are much smaller, so it could be a good month of sales, and then you drop down again because people have forgotten about it.
It's true, but that stuff does also feed itself, and you can use it. You can use it in your press release. You can, and then more people see that you've been vetted by. It's so funny. People feel more comfortable buying it if they think someone else has already found you.
Exactly.
It's so strange, but it's true. But I can hear. I mean, you would have had to hire people.
Yes, I would have definitely had to think of a big expansion. It wouldn't have just been a small thing to try out for a little while and see how things worked. It would have been a definite step.
Yeah, and then you would have had this big expansion, and then, like you said, if it dropped,
then what would I do with it?
All those people, all that setup. So, like you say, growing slowly.
So I wanted it more like organic, slow, but it's steady, and it keeps, an upward curve rather than going up and peaking and falling down. So that's what I was looking for.
That's so smart. Do you see in the future hiring people to help you produce the product?
It would be nice to do that, because at the moment, I do the products, I do the sales, the marketing, all of that. As most of us who are doing business right now, smaller businesses like this, you tend to wear many hats.
Right.
So it would be nice, because I enjoy making my products. I enjoy trying to come up with new ones. I'm not as fond of accounts, numbers, that type of stuff. So it would be very nice to get help in some avenues so that I can free up that time to concentrate more on making things.
Yeah, and then you'll reach a point with production that you have to hire people to help you with packaging, and then eventually probably with making. I mean, if that's the growth trajectory.
Yes.
And would you feel okay with releasing some of those parts to other people?
I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. At the moment, I don't see it possible.
Right.
So I have what are called forced volunteers.
Right.
But
family members.
Yeah, exactly. Who are just at the wrong place at the wrong time. But yeah, I do look forward to doing that. But it will take a little while for me to be comfortable enough to let somebody handle something completely by themselves. But I will have to do that.
Yeah, no, and I know. And I think this is really coming up a lot now in the blogs I'm reading about makers in business. Everyone, Etsy started in 2005, and everyone's sort of reaching a crescendo where if they want to expand their business, they have to hire help, and they have to let go of their baby a little bit. And everyone's having the same struggles. But everyone I'm listening to says that once they did, their business expanded insanely.
Did much better.
And I think that's so interesting, because I don't want to expand. I don't want to hire people. I don't want to be an empire, but some people do. And for some people that's exciting, and the growth is really something to move towards, and for me it's not. So I think everyone needs to make their own decision about what kind of business they want to run and how big it's going to be.
What goals you have in mind, exactly what you want your business to represent, the size you want it to be, and what you want to get out of it.
And how much income, and how much you want to be a business person, and how much you want to be a maker. Because you do end up giving up some of the making to be the business person, the idea person. And then you just go have more ideas. So you said you do a lot of wholesale. How are you getting wholesale accounts?
In the beginning, it was more of me approaching stores and giving them samples, or leaving my catalogs with them. So it started out basically cold calling, just walking in and seeing what came out of it. I didn't know any other way I could do it, because I have, like I said, I have no business background, I have no sales background, none of that.
Right.
So I'm sort of making this up as I go along.
We all are.
Yeah, so I didn't know what else I could do but except to approach stores, and it paid off. It definitely did. And I think the most exciting moment for me was when one of the largest health food stores in my area decided to carry it.
Really?
Yeah, and
that
was
exciting.
Yeah, that was very exciting, because I remember when we decided to move to Vermont, I remember entering that store and saying, I want to move here because I want to shop here.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then when I took my products to them, and I gave it to the buyer, and I just sort of hung around, sort of looking at her, peeking at her, and she smelled the stuff and her face lit up.
Oh.
And that moment, I'll never forget that moment of seeing, somebody who buys for a store like that have that reaction.
Oh.
And so I was very excited. So they picked it up. I've had people who've bought stuff in that store or other stores where I'm carried in now, and then contact me asking me if they can carry it in their stores.
Really? So,
yeah.
Oh, so shop owners shop at other shops.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah,
They're just
exactly.
regular people like you and me.
Yeah. Well, these were, somebody from New Jersey was shopping in Vermont, and they saw my stuff. So now my stuff is in their store in New Jersey.
Yeah, it's important not to compete with yourself in the same town. That doesn't do the shop owners any favors.
Yeah, that they have, they're very careful about it as well. The buyers themselves, they ask you where else are you and all of that. So,
yeah, you have to be real careful with that.
Yeah, so I did that, and that helped. And then this year, I think something that's been very, very good for the Owl has been, I just did the Expo East, which is it's the largest natural product expo on the East Coast.
Wow.
And it was one of those decisions where, I got an invite or an email from them, and I was like, okay, let's see what this is about. And so I signed up for it. And then as the time got closer, I was like, oh, I might have bitten off a bit more than I could chew.
This is big time. This is big time.
Yes, because they have 22,000 attendees, and that's their smaller show on the East Coast.
But you're not selling product. You're just showing your product.
It's showing it to stores.
And taking wholesale orders. Oh,
yeah.
Well, I hope that was really successful.
Yes, it was.
Okay, good.
And so that has generated a ton of interest, and so that's very new. That just happened in September, so I'm still sort of riding the high.
Well, this is great. I love watching this business that I stumbled across by accident grow into this natural empire, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on my show today and
explaining.
It was very
nice to be here.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.